Welcome to another video here at the World Board Gaming Championships in beautiful Seven Springs, Pennsylvania. Really great venue. You can see behind us there's a huge open gaming area. Today I have the pleasure, and I'm Grant, by the way, with the Player's Aid. If you're watching this, you know that because you're watching our channel. Today I have the dubious honor of sitting down with Sal Vasta.
Yes, well said.
And I think everybody knows who Sal Vasta is, designer of a couple of games, one that in particular called Unconditional Surrender, something like that. I don't know, I've heard some good things about it. I love that game, by the way.
You should try it one day.
Yeah, I need to.
Yeah.
I've tried it, I love it. Unconditional Surrender from GMT Games.
Mm-hmm.
It is a grand strategic World War II game covering Europe, the European East Front, West Front, Med, North Africa. Today, what I wanted to talk about today is a little bit about it's not an expansion for it, it's downsizing, just looking at the Western theater, right?
Yes.
Unconditional Surrender, Western Campaigns.
Western Campaigns.
Which is currently on the P500 for GMT and has been a couple of years? Yeah.
Yes.
So let us know what we can expect from that.
Okay.
I've already got Unconditional Surrender. It's this huge, big game.
So when I was trying to pitch Unconditional Surrender for the first time, and it had some new concepts.
What year was that, by the way?
It got published in 2014, so 2007.
Okay.
It's you put out a 2-map game, and people walk up to you, and the first question they ask is, "How is this different than Third Reich?" And so I had the answer to that.
Okay.
But I found it difficult to get down to the core elements of the game, having 2 maps. Mm-hmm. So I had taken a small section of Russia, and I created Unconditional Surrender Case Blue, which is a standalone on an 8.5 by 11.
That was in RBM Studios.
That was in C3I number 28.
Yeah, I actually played that before we played Unconditional Surrender, kind of as a cutting my teeth.
Yeah,
and it was good.
That's what I did. I wanted to show people the basic air and land elements of the game. And as Unconditional Surrender got published and people enjoyed it, I also noticed a lot of comments about looks great, interesting mechanics, it's too big.
Yeah, it's a big game.
It is, and it takes a long time.
Yes.
Now, there are 19 scenarios in it. There are a lot of smaller scenarios that you can play, but it is still a big game. And
it is worth it, I'm going to be honest. But
thank you.
It is a big game. We played over a 2-day period in May a year ago. I think we only got through about 16 months, give or take, over a 2-day period. Yeah. We're slow as heck, but had a blast with it.
Yeah, well, I'm honest about the time.
Yeah.
It's monthly turns. Over the course of the whole entire war, you're going to average out about an hour a turn is what I tell people. Clearly, September 1939 is going to be over in 15 minutes.
Sure.
But
a little bit of action.
May 1945 is going to be a lot longer.
Yeah.
So after reading those comments about it was too big, I thought to myself, well, I have all of these scenarios in the game. I love them a lot smaller. Why don't I take the Case Blue concept, take out the smaller scenarios, and create little bite-sized individual campaigns with maps all on an 8.5 by 11, small number of counters, 1/3 the rules, and I pitched it to GMT Games and Gene thought it was a great idea.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, Unconditional Surrender is very popular. It's on its 3rd printing right now.
Yes, it's on P500 still. I believe talking with Kai Jensen at GMT. They might try to get it on the printing schedule in late fall.
Oh, that's great. I've got that one P500 because Alexander's got his copy. I want my own copy.
It might be delayed because a concept I've thought about for Western campaigns I want to port into Use 3.
Okay.
So I went with Western campaigns because all of those scenarios, all those campaigns are smaller. They're individual countries. It's easier.
Yeah.
I think I can do the same thing for the East Front, but Russia is one large country, or the Soviet Union is one large country. So
Right.
I would have to figure out where I'm going to break the maps up, where I have to break up where one line ends and another one begins. So that's later.
Okay. But so you've mentioned Western campaigns, and you also just alluded you're going to do the same thing for
Eastern
the East, so Eastern campaigns.
Yes.
Any idea when that might go to the P500 or be
That's
announced?
way
in the future.
Way in the future.
Okay. We got to finish
Yes.
what's there
Yes.
first.
We have to finish what's there. And then I added, so I did that. We are not yet at, I think 750 is the magic number for P500,
Yep.
and we're at 638 or something
Okay.
for Western campaigns.
Okay.
I added an Italy campaign, which is not in the original game.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so
That'll be awesome.
it took the time to make that work. I wasn't sure when I was doing Unconditional Surrender, the mother game, that an Italy campaign would work out. We managed to figure out how to do that, and so you'll get an extra bonus that you wouldn't get if you had the other game.
Okay.
I will say that, and it might take sales away, but if you have the mother game, you don't have to buy Western campaigns.
Sure.
I don't like redo the scale or mechanics or anything along those lines.
It's all the same game, it's just bite size.
Yes, yes.
Which, to be honest, I think you could buy that in addition to USC Mothership.
Yeah.
And just kind of learn it and then go. So one question I had, because the political system to me is one of the best parts, is that in the Western campaign part?
It is not.
Okay.
It is strictly military campaign.
Got it. So be aware of that. It
Yes.
doesn't, because I think a lot of people really enjoy that part of it. The chit draw and the competition to take over, annex satellites, but just keep that in mind. It really is just the Western military campaigns.
Yes, just the Western. In order to make the game more accessible, I abstracted out naval units. So then all the naval aspect is completely abstracted out. There are no politics. I do change a few of the rules to make them simpler for the campaigns.
Okay.
Because things like amphibious invasions, in the strategic game you have naval units. Well, in this Western campaigns there are no naval units, so how do you manage that? So things like that are done. So the rule book is probably about half the size of the strategic game, but it also has expanded examples, so it's a lot less rules.
It really sounds like it's made to get people into the system and the series. If you like what you play in the Western campaigns and the Eastern future campaigns, then you can kind of graduate on to the bigger game. And I've said it earlier in the video, it's a really great experience.
Thank you.
I will use that word as an experience, though.
Okay.
It's a war game that you're going to be on for, if you're going to do the whole thing, it's going to take you a couple of months probably to get through it.
Yes, it is definitely...
Maybe that's an over-exaggeration.
People describe it as a mini monster. It's 2 maps, but the counter density is
very low.
Very low for the scale. But the mechanics, and for people who are not familiar, and you've talked about it at Players A, but the mechanics are you move a unit and finish its activation and move on to the next unit. And you can have multiple combats with the same unit, as opposed to more traditional hex games where everybody moves, you do 1 combat per unit, and then it's done. That's a faster system. My system will take longer, even though the counter density is lower.
Yep.
So
when you say lower counter density, I mean, I'm on the East Front, there's maybe 12 German units, give or take, and it's their entire armies, right? It's all
army scale. So it's 4 Panzer armies, about 10 to 12 German infantry armies, and 3 Luftwaffe air units. And so it is much smaller.
One of my favorite parts about the game, and this isn't any of these kind of grand strategic European theater games, is you got to focus on the West first.
Yes.
Crush it, hold it, leave your garrisons, and then you got to truck the units across the continent. It's just fun to see those holes then be filled and that East Front kick off and Barbarossa really gets going. But I love Unconditional Surrender.
Thank you very much.
So very much looking forward to Western campaigns.
Yes.
Only because, I'd love to be able to just play a small battle in an afternoon and that kind of thing.
It should be great for teaching new players. It should be great for people who would like to play Unconditional Surrender, don't want to have to break out the whole game,
whole thing, yeah.
go through twice the number of counters to find the 20 pieces they need to play a scenario.
Yeah.
So it's made to be sort of a lunchtime game.
Okay.
But GMT actually has a lunchtime series, so
they
it
do,
doesn't
yeah.
belong to that. I
So
don't wanna
those
mislead
scenarios
anybody.
are going to play in 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah,
give or
we
take.
played yesterday. Somebody
Okay.
who had not played the game before
Okay.
came and we played the France 1940 scenario.
Got it.
After playing Poland, and we probably took about 2 hours to play in
Oh, nice.
total.
Okay.
But it was an unusual game in that it actually lasted the entire time. Normally
Okay.
France collapses before, but this went all the way to the end.
Got it.
And so it would have been longer than usual, and of course it was against somebody who had never played before.
So
they
learning.
were at learning, and
Yep.
so yeah, it should be
Well,
quick.
cool. So I'm going to ask you another question, and you feel
Absolutely.
free to not respond or tell me I'm not
Okay.
ready to talk about it. Quite a few years
This
ago.
is not going to get very personal, is it?
No.
Okay, yeah.
No, I'll keep the personal stuff to off camera.
All right.
But I want to say it was 2018. I think we first met you here. 2018 or 19. It was
yeah.
a long time ago.
Yes.
The before times,
Yes.
right?
BC, before COVID.
Before COVID. But you talked to us about another unconditional surrender style huge game on a different war.
Right. Yes.
Can you share anything about that?
Certainly. First, let me say for anybody who's been asking, I still have it in my head to do a Pacific version
Okay. Of unconditional
surrender. That is farther down the line, different theater, different concepts. The scale will be the same, except for the land mass area. That
Yeah.
will obviously be bigger, but probably on less maps.
Okay.
Because when I tried initially to do it on 2 maps,
Yeah.
and 60% of the map was never touched,
Right.
it didn't make any sense to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Now, someone will get upset if you have to cut pieces of the Pacific out, but just, you know that.
I
You know
won't be
this.
cutting them out.
Okay.
It'll just be shrunk down.
Shrunk down.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, that makes sense.
Yes, yeah.
So unconditional surrender Pacific, I mean, that's
Right.
probably a couple of years in the future.
That's years in the future.
Okay.
Unconditional surrender in Asia and the Pacific. So
Yep.
that's I do want to include Asia. That's another thing that's
Okay. So China,
and
India,
India and
CIB theater,
right.
or CBI.
Yes,
CIB.
CBI. Yep. And I'll have the Soviet Union on the map as well.
Okay.
That's farther down the line. The other game you talked about in
The
reference
World War
was
I game?
World War I version. It's called Armistice.
Yeah. So is it unconditional surrender armistice, or is it just?
Armistice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes, because World War I was not about unconditional surrender.
Sure.
So we're calling it Armistice.
Okay.
And it will be a one mapper because we don't need to have the same geographic range as in World War II. It will be Europe only, which is the majority of where World War I occurred. Same scale. The difference will be we intend to have national will for countries, but then also for a faction. So it'll be a Central Powers
Okay.
faction and the Entente. And I hope to have 2 ways to win. One is the collapse of a faction, and a collapse of a faction means you've achieved armistice.
Okay.
So this is you do not have to march all the way into Berlin to win the game.
Got it.
The other thing is if the faction collapses, I also am attempting to get some of that attrition in the game, and so I might introduce manpower limits.
Okay.
I'm balancing that at the moment because one of the things I want to make sure I don't have is too much heavy accounting
Okay.
and too much long-term tracking. It's one of the things people enjoyed about unconditional surrender was that it's very quick from a
Yep.
math perspective.
Yep.
And I want to make sure I keep that for
Okay.
armistice. And that is halfway developed.
Okay.
I'll be straightforward about that.
Yeah.
I think the first few years of the war seem to be going well. I haven't gotten to that stalemate part yet. And I also want to make sure that the game's fun. And so I have to work with that a little bit.
Got it. So it's a ways off as well, but you've made some progress on
Yes.
that. Okay. Who do you play that with as you test?
With my 2 developers at the moment.
Okay.
Or I guess technically my developer and my lead tester, but we're brothers in arms. And we.
What are their names? If you,
Oh, sorry. Mark Dye is officially my developer, and Alan Hill is my lead tester.
Nice.
And Alan is in the Baltimore region, Mark is in the New York City region, and we communicate online.
Okay.
For Armistice, what will end up happening is Mark and I have met a couple of times in PresCon down in Charlottesville, and I'll pull out the playtest map, and then we'll move some counters around. We'll communicate electronically. Eventually, I might do an electronic version.
Okay. Like Vassal or
Vassal.
Okay.
More than likely, if I can't get some, I don't really do Vassal modules, so I might pull out old Cyberboard.
Oh, nice.
And do it that way, or I'll ask somebody to do it Vassal for me. The only problem with doing with playtest is Vassal's time consuming.
Yeah.
Rules change.
And so updating those. Isn't Unconditional Surrender on like Board Game Arena?
Yes.
I feel like I've played it at least once, but so if you didn't know that,
so
you can try the game out.
Luna LOL, or Jean Lucas's actual name, wonderful during COVID. He contacted me. He lives in France, and he asked if it would be all right if he did a Unconditional Surrender, World War II in Europe, for Board Game Arena, which I'd never heard of. And it not only reproduces the game electronically, it enforces the rules, which has introduced the game to a whole lot of people, including people who are traditionally not hex and counter board gamers.
Great, that's awesome.
It's been fantastic. I can't thank him enough. And
and more often than not, people when they play it online like that, they're going to want to then buy it. So it's not like you're kind of introducing it to new folks and new groups, and that's awesome.
I've had people who wrote on BGG, or they've commented that Board Game Geek, that they tried it on
Board Game Arena.
Enjoyed it very much, and then went and did the pre-order, which was very. I mean, awesome. It's just wonderful. I've really been surprised and very grateful for the support and appreciation that people have had for the game. It was a labor of love. And as a designer, you hope people like your game, but you never want to sit there and go, oh, this is just going to go through the roof, and people will love it. That's too much hubris.
It is a very solid, playable system, and as you mentioned, games have to be somewhat interesting or fun, or we're not going to go back to them. But that game definitely has a lot of that. I've played it a couple of times, and I'm like, I want to play more.
Thank you very much.
It's just big,
and
but that's why you got Western campaigns, maybe the Eastern campaigns,
and for those who don't have the space at all, you have Vassal module, which is also well done by Dren 608, known as Fred, who also did it on his own, maintains an excellent module.
Nice.
And then Board Game Arena, which is done by Jean-Luc, and both of those are completely electronic, so that's another way you can play and enjoy the game. Try it out.
So you've learned a lot of ways today to get the game and get into it, and then you can go ahead and order the P500 for the third printing.
For the third printing, and Western Campaigns for its first printing.
Absolutely.
And then whatever the future holds for more Unconditional Surrender.
Well, funny story real quick. It was kind of funny, very serendipitous this morning, frankly. I came over a bit early to just sit down and get a muffin and a drink. I didn't want a big breakfast. I was sitting over there in that little cafe area, all alone. It was like 7:15. And all of a sudden, Mark Herman comes strolling down the parking lot. He looked through the window and he saw me, and he came in, sat down. We talked for about 10 minutes. He got his coffee. Then Sal Vasta walked around the corner, and you sat down, and we talked for about 10 minutes. I'm a little upset only because I had a game I had to run to.
You had to run out.
So I got you for about 5 minutes.
You're not the only person we've driven away, so don't feel bad. It's not just you.
But great experience, and that's part of what WBC is. You can talk to so many great people and you can play a lot of games, talk to people, see a lot of things. It's just a great area. I love WBC.
It's a great convention. I haven't been here
for at least 4 or 5 years.
Before COVID, NBC. It was canceled for several years, and then other times, other things in life were happening. I just couldn't get here. And this is my first convention back, first time to a convention that lasted more than like 4 hours.
Okay, got it.
Guys went
Got
to
it.
some place, went to the vendor room, said hi to a few people I
And
knew,
then left.
So this is the first, and then it's been great. It's a wonderful venue. A little bit difficult to get to, depending on which direction you're coming from.
Yeah, it takes a while, no matter where you're coming from.
But lots of great people. The vendors are great.
Yeah, it's great.
The hobby is very good. The hobby's grown so much. It's not just about traditional military board games. It's great to see a wide range of age of people, and the venue itself has a lot for non-gamers.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
Bowling alley downstairs.
Yes.
There's a ski slope. There's no snow.
That's right.
You can do some hiking. You can ride the lift.
Yeah.
We have preached the merits of WBC since we first attended in 18. I think this is our 6th year, or my 6th year.
Okay.
It's just great.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's
So
wonderful.
I appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you
Mr.
for having me.
Sal, love that you sat down with us. I love the information. I'm glad that you were able to give us a little bit of an update, because I know people ask a lot on our videos when we're talking about it. So Sal Vasta, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you sitting down.
Hi, Alex.
And as you know, Alexander is in England with family. He would desperately love to be here, but he also misses his
family.
English
Has to come first.
Yeah,
No worries.
So I'm holding the fort down. I hope the video turns out. I hope the sound's good. I'm praying, but
I'm willing to do it again in case it gets.
I will check it.
No, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks, guys. I've been Grant for the Player's Aid.
Thank you. Take care, man.